Hello everyone, how's it going? This is Judy. So this video is for beginners to programming, or if you're a person who is considering to get into programming. And today's video I'll be talking about which language should you learn first if you're new. And this is the question that I get asked a lot. And I also hear a lot of people saying, oh, like maybe you should learn Python because it's easy. But I think that which language is easy is not as important as which language you're actually going to use in the future. And to answer that question, you need to figure out like why is it that you're learning programming, because as you know, coding has many applications and you should choose your first language depending on which path you want to go to. So let's go over the applications of programming, and I'll name one of the most popular and common languages for each application. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is data science. Maybe you're considering on extending your tools in data analytics. Maybe you work in finance and you work with softwares like Excel and you want to automate some of your tools. Then the language to consider, the most common languages for data science in general, are Python and R. And also, if you're interested in AI, want to get to know in machine learning, there are a lot of powerful frameworks in Python, also in JavaScript. So I'll definitely get started with Python. Another use case of Python is probably web scraping, which is automatically running scripts to scrape data from the internet. So that's for data science. The second one is web development, or in other words, building websites. And the most common language today for that is JavaScript. Also, websites have two parts, front end and the back end. I have another video where I talk about the differences between front end and the back end. But to say it shortly, so front end is more like what creates the components that build user experience, whether it's a form that you're filling out, a button, or search bar, header. All these are part of the front end. And what happens on the back end is that all this data gets stored, data gets updated. So all this functionalities, when let's say form is submitted, it's handled by the back end. For the front end, as I mentioned, JavaScript, but you'd also need to look into HTML. That's helps for building the components. JavaScript more adds functionality, and as for the styling, what creates the design of the website, that's CSS. So there's three languages for the front end. For the back end, I would look into MySQL, that's what's most common for building tables for the databases, updating these tables, and working with the data. The third use case for programming is building mobile apps, which is becoming more and more popular today, and the demand for jobs for developers that build mobile apps is also increasing. So for that, depends, as you know, there's two main platforms. It's Android and iOS. So different programming languages work with these platforms, and there are other languages that work with both. So for Android, the main languages are Kotlin and Java. For iOS, it's either I would start with Swift or Objective-C. And there's fairly newer languages that work with both. For example, React Native and Flutter. They don't have as much functionalities on mobile app as the other native languages have. But if you want to just build something quickly and don't want to specialize in any of these platforms, that I'll definitely consider using these languages. I also have a video talking about how I built my first language of my first mobile app as a web developer, so check it out if you're interested. So the last use case that I'll be talking about is getting into DevOps, and if you want to become DevOps engineer, which means that you'd be the person managing and creating workflows and pipelines for deployment of the products. As you know, each product contains many steps, and there's a lot of different programs that talk to each other. So building infrastructure and maintaining would be one of the things you'll be handling. And the language for that, a lot of DevOps engineers know scripting languages, for example, Python or JavaScript. And they also use Golang. In short name, Go is one of the popular languages that's also becoming like really common in the area. So I would like look into this three. So the last thing is that, yeah, it's really sometimes maybe you don't know what exactly you want to do with programming, so you just want to know if it's something for you or not. And in this case, I would either go with JavaScript or Python if you want to quickly run some code and see if it's working out. But for me personally, I think choosing the path is really important. For example, I started programming by learning Java, and actually in my career I never wrote a single code of Java. So hope this video helps you, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.